from your house or your breakfast or wherever you might have been? Okay. One simple thing, we made a choice. Every single one of us made a choice. You got up in the morning and you had a choice. Come to Spiritual Sunday or don't come to Spiritual Sunday. For those of you who are watching, you had the same choice. Watch or don't watch. So we want to awaken the idea today. It was a choice that we made. Now we can say, why did we make that choice? So those of you who are new, you made the choice because someone told you it would be good for you, etc. Those of you who have been here before, it's because hopefully we're getting some inspiration, we're getting some wisdom, we're getting tools and understanding that will change our consciousness and therefore make our lives better. And so we made those choices based on that. Yes, I want a better life. I feel I've been getting some good from what I'm learning here. It's affecting my life, and so I choose to do it again. So we made a choice. It wasn't automatic. Yes, if we've been before, you still had to make a choice. Doesn't matter. I have to make a choice every week to do this. You have to make a choice every week to be here. So it doesn't matter how many times you've been, it's still a choice today. Now, let's go back in a bigger picture. Let's go back a few years. What brought you to the point to be able to find Kabbalah or find Spiritual Sunday? It was also a series of choices you made. It was a choice to listen to somebody. It was a choice to be in a certain place at a certain time. If you really look at it from, let's say, our mid-teens, everything that's gone on in our life is a series of choices. We made choices, and one choice added to another, to another, to another, to another, put us where we are. Put us in every situation in our life. Did you ever not make a choice and you saw something different? You chose not to go somewhere? I think I told you the story once, and I just want to cut to the chase because we have a lot of other things. I once made a decision not to go to one place first, but do something else first. Well, that could have saved my life because the place that I ended up third on my list instead of first, there was an armed robbery, and I would have been there if I'd chosen that place first and not third. So choices have a big impact on our life. And that's what I want us to realize. We need to be more conscious of our choices because they affect everything in our life, right? And how many choices do we make? Sometimes we don't even realize the choices we make. How many of you have nothing in the closet except what you're wearing right now? The people not laughing, I'm worried. Okay, right? You have more in your closet. So even just to get dressed, we don't think of it really, but it's also a choice. We also made a choice for whatever reason. This was clean, this wasn't. I don't know, this looks better on me now, or this is the mood I'm in. Whatever way, shape, or form, but we made a choice. Did you eat breakfast? Some of you. Did you have a cup of coffee? Okay. Did you choose not to eat? Some of you. I'm not kidding. Yes. Right? So that was also a choice. You look in the closet, maybe there's 4 things there. Right? Or which tea you're going to make or what have you. There are constantly choices we make. And sometimes we make that choice. You think it's not so significant. Okay, so what I have for breakfast. But let me ask you, have you ever had something for breakfast that didn't go so well with your stomach at the time? Yes or yes? Okay, so wouldn't you rather have made a different choice? Of course, so choices we make have impact on our lives. And that's why we're here today discussing the choices we make. Be aware, every choice makes a difference. You watch some of these videos. I just happened to see one last night my kids were showing me. A guy gets out of a bus, right, and he waits in a line. Now, I don't know if it was a choice or what choices he made, but he ended up crossing in front of the bus, and just as he went to take a step, another car came on the side of the bus. A half a second later, that choice or whatever choices he made, letting somebody get up first and walking out the bus a microsecond later, that could have saved his life. Because this car just came barreling down and we're like, whoosh, right in front of him. So choices have impact. Sometimes we choose, I don't know why well, you know me, I love the streets. Driving, right? You make that choice to speed up to go through the yellow light or just slow down and stop. Even if it's not about a car accident, but there's some impact that takes place later. How you get where you go, the person that you might have met when you arrived there, things like that. So we're constantly making choices. School to go to, relationship to be in, jobs to do, what movie to see, what movie not to see, which places to go. All those things are choices, and every single one of them have an impact in our life, for good or for bad, big or small. But every choice has an impact. So then for us, we want to start understanding on what basis are we making choices. In fact, right now you're probably thinking, really, how did I make that choice to eat what I ate or to wear what I wear? Some of the things we consider simple. So it all goes back to, what did we say? Consciousness. So I want to awaken one aspect of a consciousness. And if you've heard this before, don't answer. When you look at a glass, it's 8 ounces and you have 4 ounces of water in it. Is it half full or is it half empty? How many of you say half full? Okay, I'm checking in there. Okay, Facebook, Kabbalah.com. Okay. How many of you say half empty? Okay, a few brave souls in the room. How about out there? Okay, a few people, because we all heard, oh no, I want to be the optimist and see it half full. How many of you want 100% good all the time? Exactly. See, now everybody's raising their hand. So then if you only see and live half a life, 50% of your life, how can you have 100%? You can't. So whether you see half full or half empty, you only have 50% of your life. And the sad part is, yes, you're right. If a person sees the half empty, then they will make all of their life empty. Not so happy making, not so pleasant, etc., a burden and on. Now, a person sees only the half full, they're going to have a little bit of a nicer time, but they're still going to be gnawed by the half that they don't have. It's still going to bother them, the half that they didn't get, that they have a sense they're supposed to have more, do more, get more, receive more, but they're only perceiving the half full. So they're not seeing where or how they're lacking something or they can improve something. So what do the Kabbalists teach us? Now you can answer. Half full or half empty? Both. What's the truth? Consciousness is everything. Objectively, you look at an 8-ounce glass. Did you shrink it to 4 ounces? No, it's still 8 ounces. So it is half full and half empty. Now you can say the way you look at it might determine your destiny because it's a choice you make. Do I choose to see it half full or half empty? Now all of us can choose it differently. We can choose to see the whole thing. It's both half full and half empty. Now, how I will live my life, which side will guide me initially, push me forward, that's also a choice we make. So yes, we're learning here. I want to choose to see the full part and then enhance it to fill the empty part. That's also a choice. But I'm at least motivated by the objective of wanting the whole 8 ounces. I want all my 100%. I don't want 99.9% because I don't care how good you think that is. If you've already been given 100% and you're at 99.9, at a certain point in your life, what's going to happen? You're going to feel the lack of that 0.1% because we have already been given. For those of you who are new, we believe when the Bible says God created us in the image and likeness, it means we've already been given 100%. And that we have God-like capabilities in our life to bless people, to transform things, to bring miracles and wonders into our lives and influence other people in that way. So it's already there. So you and I learn in the Kabbalah Center, we're just going for 100%. Keep your eyes on the 100% and then just live towards it, move towards it, make choices that will take you there. Because if we don't see the both, how many of you ever had a bad job? Okay, exactly. Probably a common situation, right? But when you first got in the job, maybe you had been out of work for a while. Now you get the job. How does the job look at first? Wonderful. It's great because you're so desperate to get the job that you just took that job because it was offered to you. 6 months later, 3 weeks later, a year later, suddenly now you see the half-empty part that you didn't look at because you were only perceiving the half full. At least I got the job. And then it turns miserable, right? Or a relationship, it's the same idea. We get in the relationship because they treat us nicely. We're so blinded by love, by our 5 senses, by whatever it is, that we don't see the part that's missing until when? Down the line, then it shows up, and then we look back and we say, I should have seen those signs. I should have seen the red flags. I should have heard something in the way they talked or how they treated people, etc., etc. So if we're holding the thought, the glass is both half full and half empty. Or you could say 70-30, I don't care what you use, but it's both. There's an empty part of it. There's a full part of it. So we have to see both. Otherwise, we're going to make those wrong decisions. We're going to fall into the wrong places. Sure, did we already fix some of them? Yes. But if we can shorten the process, why not? If we can make the process easier, more fulfilling, more merciful, why not? Right? Why shouldn't we? Because we have the capability. That's the power we have. And that's what we're learning here. How to make those choices that will change our lives for the better. Because sometimes you don't see things. I mean, anyone here who's a Libra besides me? 3 brave souls, 4 brave souls, right? So what do they generally say about Libra? The rest of you probably have it also, but Libra tends to be stereotypical. Indecision. Right? So somebody comes to you and says, okay, Chaim, do you want this dessert or this dessert? This one's chocolate chip ice cream. This one is fudge brownies. Right? Yes. So that's, yeah, both. I like that. Okay. Right? Now, the stress. We stress over these decisions we have to make. Right? So if we don't see the whole thing, again, it can fall into trouble. I had a student years ago in LA, had a piece of property that they couldn't sell. So what do if they can't sell it? What's the typical thing? Lower the price, lower the price, lower the price, lower the price, and hope somebody will buy it before you get back to what you bought it for. So what happened? Some person came in, saw what they couldn't see, saw the whole picture, bought it, divided the lot in half, and sold double. Now, while they were trying to sell the house and the property originally, was that possibility there? Yeah. Of course it was, but they didn't see it. Why? Because in their desperation, with the influence of that negative voice that exists in our head, that parasite we call the opponent, all they could see was the half empty. It's not selling, what's going to happen to their money, they got to move, and this. All those things weighed on them that they couldn't see the bigger picture. You know what? Divide it in half. You could sell it both. You'll make money that way for sure. And how did they find out? Because somebody came in, bought it, and did it. I had another student, Miami, when I was teaching in Miami, came to me, successful business person, hearing one of the classes, and he came, he says, you know, I understand. He says, years ago, he was working for a man that it was just him in the office. And he was working hard. This is the kind of person he is. He worked hard, he did a great job, sold a lot of the product, and he started to get angry. Angry. Why? Because he was doing all the work, and who was getting rich? The boss, the owner. So he's getting angry and angry until he started to realize what? What was the boss, consciously or unconsciously, teaching this young man? How to be great at business. So instead of seeing the training he was getting, you remember the movie, The Wax On, The Wax Off? You know, things like that. So he's doing this. He doesn't say, how am I going to be good in karate? Until he showed him how it related. So the same thing, this young man working, and yes, he worked hard, he learned the ropes. And even in his case, as he looked back, once he started to learn Kabbalah, he also found that the mistakes he made were on that side, and he learned how to deal with them. So when he left there and went into his own business to become very successful, then he already knew how to deal with different situations and not make the same mistakes, so he had to learn from them on his own time, on his own dime. So again, if you look at the big picture, you can see the both. You look at only half of it, you can be miserable the whole way. Who needs that? You walk a mile. Right? Person walking a mile, running a mile, jogging a mile, biking a mile. Doesn't matter. But imagine now the consciousness. A person goes 1/10 of the mile. If they see the 9/10 they didn't get, 9 more tenths. 8 more tenths. 7 more tenths. You following the picture? So if they get to the mile, because they may give up along the way because there's always more to go. They didn't get there yet. So if they get to the mile, did they get there happy and joyous, or they're miserable? They're miserable. Now the same mile, the same methodology, but now a person goes to the 10th of a mile, goes, wow, good job. I did a 10th of a mile. Goes the next one, good job, 2/10 of a mile. Now when they get to a mile, they're more than likely one to get to the mile, but how do they arrive? Happy or sad? Happy, because the whole journey was happy. What's the difference? Was it the way they went? No. Was it the mile distance? No. What was the only difference? Consciousness. One saw the half empty, one saw the half full. But in both cases, what was it? Both. Because they both went 1/10, so it's 1/10 full, 9/10 empty. 2/10 full, 8/10 empty. So it was the same journey, same glass, same situation. The difference was not the distance, the way, the what? The distance was themselves. So how we look at life makes a big difference to us. It changes our perception about a lot of things. So we want to be open. Why? Because everything's available. We mentioned, the Creator created us as co-creators. But there's only one Creator. So the Creator, as we believe, at least here in the center, we believe the Creator is absolutely perfect. And there is no time, space, or motion in the Creator. So when the Creator created our physical universe, every single possibility, every choice we could ever make, think about making, has already been set out. Like some of these theaters. Now today, I don't know, some of you grew up where there was only like one theater in a theater, right? Now you go to a theater, there's 8, 10, 12, 20, 25, right? So think about that. And please, I'm not encouraging you to do this. I just want to use it as an example. So you're sitting in one movie, right? And there's 10 other movies going on. And you're watching part of it. And then you say, okay, I don't like this one. And you jump into the other theater. Again, I'm not telling you to do it, right? I just want you to imagine. I don't want to get in trouble. All the theater owners going to, what did you say? Okay. So you jump into the next, now, it's a different one. You're in a Western and you jump into, I don't know, a science fiction movie. So now for the next 10, 20 minutes you're watching, you're seeing something different, yes? Now you say, okay, that's enough of that, and you jump into another one, a romantic comedy, right, this and this. So you're getting different experiences every theater you jump in. But what's predetermined in each one of those theaters? The movie's already in the can, as they say, right? The movie has already been made. So the movie is already set from A to Z, from beginning to end. If you sat in it once, and now you bring friends to watch it again, what could you tell them? Could you predict the future? Oh, you know what's going to happen now? This. And then happens, you go, wow, how did you know? Oh, I'm psychic, right? So you understand the idea. All the choices have a predetermined end. But we can choose to jump in and out of those movies of life when, any moment, we change the way we make choices. Same choices, same life. All right? You sit in the movie, and I'm not, if you enjoy the movie, obviously you want to sit there. But if you're sitting in the movie from beginning to end, it's already predestined, is it not? So your friend who saw it could tell you what happened. So we're not changing that destiny if we stay the same. But as we move from choice to choice, different types of choices from our consciousness. How many of you ever made a different choice, right? You changed jobs, changed relationship, moved from one place to another, but after a year it ended up the same thing. It was the same situation. It was a miserable relationship, the job didn't satisfy you, I don't know, the house or the new city or whatever. It ended up to say, yeah, people the same, et cetera, et cetera. We have those things. Why? We made different choices, we think, right? Change the person, change the job, change your clothes, change your outfit, change your whatever. But the one thing, when you see it repeats over and over and over again, one thing that person didn't change, consciousness. They're still seeing the half full or the half empty and not both, so they keep getting the same repetitive situation. And then they wonder why. But didn't I change this and didn't I try something else? And where's that, cause and effect? Well, you've got to look inside. We've got to start realizing it's not just the external choice we make. It's the consciousness behind the choice that we make. What's the basis of it? So what do the Kabbalists give us? They give us an understanding. How are we basing our choices? So we go beyond just, okay, is it the half full or the half empty? Because we could say that too. You could just, mull around in the half empty part. Like we said, change jobs, change things. And I told you that story, didn't I? Okay, the new people, it's new for you, so this is for you. I have a relative. that for years and years and years, every job that he got into, within 6 weeks, everybody in his job around him was an idiot. He gets in a job, he likes the job at first, right? Went there, 6 weeks or less, everybody's an idiot, and he's the only smart one. So he leaves the job. Within a year, gets another job. Same thing. Within 6 weeks, everybody's an idiot. I don't know how they do it. How can that be the boss? They don't know what's going on. Da, 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 da. For at least 10 to 12 years. Wow. Every job. Unfortunately, he didn't get the idea. There was only one common factor in all 10 or 12 jobs. No, not that they were idiots. He was the only common factor. So maybe there is a cause and effect. Maybe there is a like attracts like. So what happened? So his last job, he stayed in it for 20 some odd years. You say, wow, did he learn, Chaim? No. He just realized if he kept changing jobs, he wouldn't have retirement. So he stayed in the job. He is now retired about 4 years, right? If you ask him about that job, yes, they were all idiots and you don't know what I had to put up with and blah, blah, blah. But he's got his retirement and he's doing his thing, right? That's it. So again, it's not just the external changing. It has to be internal changing. You've got to change on the inside because every choice we make not only affects us, but think of the effect it has on others. How many of you are fathers? If you don't mind? Right. Now imagine you have children, obviously, because you're a father. What would have happened? Oh, now I'm going to... Yeah, if you had chosen a different wife, a different relationship, you'd have different children, right? A different life, things like that. So every choice not only affects us, it affects other people. 1987, some of you heard the story. 1987, I had an opportunity to make a choice. I was on my way. I was teaching spirituality. I didn't know what Kabbalah was. I'd heard a little of Kabbalah, but I was not in the center. But I'd been in spirituality for 10 years, and I was teaching different things, etc. And I'm really excited about being a spiritual teacher and helping people to change their lives, etc., etc. I go to a birthday party, San Fernando Valley. Anyone here from California, new people? Yes! From where? San Fernando Valley. Woo! Okay. So I grew up and lived in Redondo Beach. I went out in the San Fernando Valley, Encino, family birthday party, right? Now, had I chosen not to go there, then this would have never happened. My cousin, who showed up at this party, he starts to tell me he's learning Kabbalah at this new place called the Kabbalah Center. Because in 1987, in March, January 87, we rented our first office. It was probably half the size of this room. But that was the first office of the Kabbalah Center back then. Third office in the world, right? We had one center a small center in Israel and New York, and then we were opening here. This is March of 87. So my cousin tell me, yeah, there's a place he'd been learning for a little while, right? And I said, really, what do they talk about? So he starts to tell me, reincarnation, meditation, astrology. I said, really? I said, how do I find out? He says like this, I think there's an introductory lecture tonight. So you know the area. So to go from San Fernando Valley, at that point, the center just opened up on Westwood Boulevard near Olympus Boulevard, right? Olympic Boulevard. So it's right on my way home. And it's right at the right time. So I show up there, and for my good fortune, Karen Berg gave the introductory lecture. 2 nights later, the Rav gave a 2-night seminar. I started Kabbalah 1, Kabbalah 2, and here I am. So I would like to think I've had good influence on thousands of people over these 30 years. That wouldn't have happened had I made a different choice. Like all of us, the people we've influenced for good, you made choices that put you in front of them, around them. You made choices that gave you the wisdom and the insight to be able to share whatever you shared with them, and you made the choice, as some of us very often have to do. Choose to speak up and share with them, or choose to keep your mouth shut because maybe they'll think you're crazy or maybe they're not interested or whatever. But we also choose to listen to the intuitive voice inside of us. That's also a choice. We can listen, or we can hear it and do nothing. Or we can hear it and we can do something. It's up to us. What happened? Go back to the Bible. Simple story. Abraham the patriarch. He was destined because he was the greatest astrologer ever lived. And he saw when his name was Avram, he saw his horoscope and he saw he's not destined to have children. But remember, multiplex theater. So there's the life he grew up as, no children. But there's another road, another destiny where he could have children. So what did he choose to do? In simple terms, he chose to follow the Creator. He chose to go on the path of the Creator and not the idol worship that he grew up in. And he changed his name, changed his destiny, and he had children to our good fortune. All right? In the same way. So those choices we make to go with the light, that's changing our destiny. So then the Kabbalists teach us two ways to change our thinking, or two choices, and that's it. How many of you know about computers? You know about computers? How complex are computers? Real complex. That's why we need these guys here to help run this stuff. But as complex as a computer is, what's it all based on really? If you boil it down and boil it down and boil it down. Binary system. Zeros and one. On, off. That's it. It's the combination of all those choices that allow it to do all of the complex things that we can't figure out how to do, or at least I can't, right? But still binary system. So how many choices do we have in a day? Millions. Millions of choices, but it's still binary system. And according to the Kabbalists, it's two things, either self-centered or sharing for the good of others. That's it. That's our binary system. That's it. So again, most of them, because we see the half empty, or we want the full because we're only focusing on more good, and we're missing part of it, so that opponent in our head keeps taunting us to keep making the same self-centered decisions. And I don't mean selfish as we think outside, but self-centered. Oh, I don't have a job. I need money to pay my bills. Let me just be desperate and grab a job because I want to be able to support my family. Not selfish as we often think out there, but it's still only self-centered. Is it a thought of channeling the talent and ability that the Creator gave us in the first place? No. Is it the thought of how can I share my talents and ability to make the business grow that I'm going to go into or help other people in the office? No. It's about me and making sure I pay my bills. So in that way, it's self-centered, as opposed to how can I channel my light that the Creator is constantly giving me and is giving me those talents and abilities and the ability to help and share with other people. So you're getting the job either way. But again, consciousness is everything. So how we go back to make those choices will determine what ends up in our life. And it's always a choice. So right now, some of you are thinking, you know, Chaim, I didn't make that choice. I got in this job because it was good for me. It was all the things that I wanted. It was the right benefits. It was close to home, blah, 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 all those things. So now what do I do? So what do we do? Should we go change your job? Am I telling you, go give notice and leave? No, but how long does it take you to change consciousness? So yesterday, Friday, you went into work kind of that self-centered. Yes, you did a good job, etc. But about protecting your job and your income. Now, tomorrow you can go to work and you start changing it. No, now when I go to work, it's how can I shine my light? How can I share with other people? How can I pay more attention to the people in the office? And look, I see this person I see all the time and I just kind of go, oh, hi, how are you? And walk by. You don't really stop and look at their face. Maybe they're having a bad day. And for 30 seconds, you can lift them, inspire them, make them happy, tell a joke, something that will change them. And if it changes them because of you, when you walk away, what do you take with you? The light you revealed to them, they're going to be better. They're going to go touch somebody else and touch something else. They just changed their destiny. You change your destiny. For 5, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, a 1-minute conversation. All we have to do is keep being conscious. Think. I'm driving on the street. You all know my favorite example, right? You drive on the street and there's that driver that doesn't do what you want. Exactly. You have the choice. Are you going to wish them well and send them light? Or are you going to be upset and send them daggers? Get out of my way. What are you doing? You don't know who I am. You don't know where I'm going. You don't know what I'm doing. It's our choice. And you think because you're in the car by yourself, it makes no difference. Because they don't hear it. But remember, consciousness is everything. So as you're in the car, if you're making yourself miserable by sending out daggers and being stressed and angry, then when you arrive at your destination, remember the mile? You arrive there and you're already more miserable. So you walk in and everybody says, oh, hi, how are you? Right? Because you had a miserable drive. They got in your way. That's it. And then what happens? Now imagine, look how you affect them. They're all happy. Hi, how are you? They're walking away. What's wrong? What's going on? Now suddenly their opponent going in their head. What's happening? The boss, maybe it's the boss. Is the boss upset? Something happened to business. Now they think he might lose their job. You understand the impact. That's why, what did they come up with recently? I don't even know when, but it's coming to my mind. 6 degrees of separation, right? That we can touch everybody on earth. So then imagine the same thing. If we're starting here and we're shining, smiling, wishing them all well, 6 degrees of separation, we can be touching the whole world. That's the power of what we're doing here. And especially with so many people watching online from around the world, we are impacting the entire world. Because among all of us, 6 degrees of separation, we can touch all 7.5 billion people one way or another. And if we influence them with the light, to choose to see light in themselves and light in other people, then what's going to happen to those 7.5 billion? Suddenly they wake up and they're going to work happy. They're jumping, they're skipping, and everybody looks at them. Are you the same person that was here yesterday? And then they start to do the same thing, right? As much as a negative attitude is contagious, a positive attitude, the light is also contagious. So we want to be more contagious with the light than they are with the negativity. Right? What allows us to make that shift? Very important point. Yes, it's consciousness. But imagine, person, they've driven down the street or they're in the job and they realize, yes, they're thinking upset, stressed out, or whatever it is. What do you have to do first? And this is one of the first lessons we learn in Kabbalah 1. Pause. Stop. You got to stop. I'm about to send daggers to the person on the street. Pause. Stop. What a great opportunity. We heard one of the teachers says, pause, what a pleasure. The first time I heard that, I thought, yeah, pleasure? What, are you crazy? You know what they're doing? What kind of pleasure is that? No, it's not about them. It's not what they're doing that's a pleasure. It's the fact that I stopped. What a pleasure. I can change my destiny now. I can make it happier, healthier, more prosperous. I can change my life. I jump into the multiplex theater of the highest Chaim there is, or at least a higher one. So that's the pleasure. Pause, because then I can shift from self-centered to sharing-centered. What can I do for the other person? How can I change? That's the key. That's the key to changing our destiny. Pause. It's transformation. In that pause, if we've been listening to that naggy, terrible opponent's voice, no, it's half empty, you'll never make it, da-da-da-da. When you pause, what do you leave a space for now? You leave a space for the voice of the Creator, divine inspiration, clarity. You get to see a sense of, a picture of, an image of your 100% that the Creator already set out for you. Now you see that, oh, what a pleasure. Here I was looking at hell on earth, pause, listen, and now I see heaven on earth. What's the difference? It's only consciousness. Consciousness. How many people do you know who have big houses, big cars, all the physical, material advantages, and they're still miserable? So then you can't say it's only due to the physical, material things. It again goes back to consciousness. So we can choose every minute of every day. We do choose, consciously or unconsciously. If you don't make a conscious choice, then what choice did you make? To stay the same. I remember being a Libra, of course, so I attract people who are also having trouble with decision. So I remember I had this one student about the second year I was teaching. And of course, when you come to the center and then you start to understand more of astrology, which I didn't know so much before, now the Libra, indecisive. Of course, the first thing I want to say is, no, I'm not indecisive. I just don't know what to do. Okay. So I had this student who was kind of every meeting, complain about the job, complain about the job, complain about the job. Oh, but they're looking for another job. They're thinking about it. Maybe they should leave. Maybe they shouldn't. Maybe they should. Maybe they shouldn't. So I finally realized every day that they're staying in that job while they're saying they don't know should they leave, should they find another job, they didn't realize they are unconsciously deciding, choosing to stay in the same job. So we're either choosing to stay the same or we're choosing to be different, but it's still a choice. There's no indecision, yes, and life just goes on. You're choosing to let it go on. Like you choose to sit in the movie. You ever been to a really bad movie that halfway through you know there was nothing going to happen, but you still chose to stay? And then at the end you were just right? Yes, it was a miserable movie. So you could have got up and left. You even had the inspiration to get up and left. Who chose to sit in the seat? I did. You did. Why? Paid my money. I got to get my money's worth. Whatever the excuse. But you chose. Don't look back and say, oh, yes, you told me to come to this horrible movie. No, I was ready to get up. You want to stay? You stay in the movie. I'm going to go out. I'll go in the lobby. I'll go buy a coffee and then come back and pick you up. Right? No, I go to the box office, pay, and go to the next theater. Right? But it's always a choice. We've got to realize many of the choices we're just making habitually. Just the same choice we made yesterday in the same way, in the same consciousness. And that's why things tend to stay the same. So we want to start waking up. Every moment of every day I'm making a choice. So let's begin to start making the choice. I choose to look in the mirror and see a being of light. That's why we're constantly reminding ourselves, what? I am a pure and perfect being of light. I am a pure and perfect being of light. We have to keep reminding ourselves that. So we realize perfection is there. I just have to learn to live into it. I have to make those choices that will get there. So as I look in the mirror, I want to make sure, yes, do I do mistakes? What's a mistake, really? It's a wrong choice. Okay, so I didn't know I was in my self-centered nature. I made a choice. 6 weeks later, I realized it was a bad choice. It wasn't the best choice I could have made. So now am I stuck? No. What do they say about mistakes? It's not a failure unless... It's not a failure unless you don't learn from it. So if you made a bad choice and you made a mistake, just re-choose. Re-choose now more consciously in the consciousness of sharing. Change your destiny. It's up to you. It's not up to anyone else. We're constantly changing. And as we will change our choices, we're changing things all around us. I want to give you one story before we go. There's a story, goes back hundreds of years. There was a great Kabbalist, miracle maker called the Baal Shem Tov. So just before he was leaving the world, he took his students and he told each one of his students what their job was to do once he left the world. Okay? Because he had pure divine inspiration. If you want to read his stories, amazing things. So he looked at one student and he said, your job is to just go tell stories that you've seen. Because you've been with me probably longer than any of these other students. Your job is to go, spread the word of the miracles you saw, the lessons you learned, etc. Okay, so he's told by his teacher, this is it. He trusts his teacher implicitly. Baal Shem Tov leaves the physical world, so now he's out and he's traveling the countryside, telling stories of things he saw, the miracles that happened, the healings, whatever it was. And after a couple years, he's not sure. When is this finished? So his teacher had told him, when will you know you're done? He says, you'll know. Okay, so after 2-3 years, he's going around telling stories. He's traveling everywhere all over the countryside in Poland, the Ukraine area, Russia. And then he hears that there's a very wealthy man who will pay well for stories of the Baal Shem Tov. So he figures, okay, why not? If he can make some more money telling stories, why not? He doesn't know when he's going to be finished, but he knows he'll know when he's finished. So he goes to this wealthy man's house, and he's spending the weekend. So on Friday night, the first part of the Sabbath, they have dinner, and the wealthy man has his friends around, and he's got this storyteller, and he says, okay, please, tell us a story. And the storyteller can't think of one story. He was with the Baal Shem Tov for years and years and years. He saw hundreds of thousands of miracles. He can't remember one story. So he's looking around now, he's embarrassed. The rich man says, it's okay, maybe the travel and this and this. He says, we'll try again in the morning. So comes the morning, and again, they go to pray, and then they come back, and they're having a meal, and he's sitting there, he says, okay, please, now tell us a story. He can't think of a story. He can't think of one story, nothing. Now he's really getting embarrassed. Friday night, okay, the rich man made an excuse. Now it's Saturday morning, he's rested, etc. He can't think of one story. So what he started, maybe the guy thinks, I don't know, I'm just here for the free meal, maybe I'm just trying to get money from him, something. The rich man doesn't say anything. So later in the afternoon, they have the afternoon meal, and he brings him again. You still can't think of anything. Nothing, not one story. So comes Saturday night, the guy says, I'm leaving. He's got to leave. Now he's, embarrassed. He couldn't tell any story. So the rich man says, look, I know you came anyway, and I know you have good intent and you need help. Let me give you some money. So he gives him some money anyway. And the storyteller starts to ride away. And he gets about an hour away. And remember, you're talking like the 1600s, so an hour is on the horse and the wagon, whatever. He gets an hour, and all of a sudden, he remembers part of a story. So now, what's his choice? Go back the hour to tell the story, or just go on? The guy probably thought he was a fake anyway. He gave him a little bit of money anyway. Why not just go on to the next place? But he made the choice to go back. Why? Because he felt it's not right. If he got the story and this rich man was so nice to him and even gave him money at the end, etc., he owed it to him to go tell him what he remembered. So he rides back the hour. When he knocks on the door and the rich man answers, he could see the rich man's been crying. Right? His eyes puffy red, etc. He says, I came back because I couldn't not do this. I remember only part of a story. I don't remember the beginning, I don't know the end, but I only know the middle. But it's a story, and I wanted to come back and share it with you. So they sit down, and he says, years ago, because they used to travel, the Baal Shem Tov, he would get divine inspiration. Wherever the Creator told him to go, he would go. So it was often to create a miracle for someone, or sometimes back in those days, there were pogroms. People would come into town, whatever it was, the army would come in and just smash the town and pillage or whatever. So they were in this one town, and there was this general who was the next day, they kind of warned the citizen, the next day they're coming in and they're just going to pillage the place, and kill people, whatever it is. So the Baal Shem Tov went to try and prevent it. So he told his student, who was now the storyteller, he says, I want you to go to that general, and I want you to tell him that I want to see him. So, this guy is going to come kill everybody tomorrow. What's going to stop him from killing me just because I go there and tell him to come see you? He says, just trust me, just go tell him I want to see him. So he goes, and the storyteller's telling this rich man, I went to the general, I told him, my teacher wants to see you, right? And he came. So he came to the place where the Baal Shem Tov was staying, and they went in a room. I don't know what they said, I don't know what happened, but he came out, the general came out, and he also had like puffy eyes, and the next day, nothing. The army had left, no program, no destruction, whatever. He says, that's all I know. And as he's telling the story, the rich man looks at him and he says, look at me carefully. He says, don't you remember me? And this is 20 years later, whatever it is, 3 years. He says, no, I don't. He says, I was that general. He says, your teacher took me in the room, he reached into my soul, and he started to cleanse my soul. So I begged him, what can I do that will cure, that will repair everything I've ever done? And he said, you have to help other people. He says, when will I know that I'm done? He says, when you hear this story again. So he went out and he did a lot of good for people, but this is why he was paying for stories for the Baal Shem Tov, that he wanted to hear that story. So obviously the storyteller knew his job was done. The general knew his correction, his repair of his mistakes were done. But I want us to think, the general, the rich man, chose when he didn't hear the story and the guy ran away, and he told him, he chose to beg and plead with the Creator, to pray, to fix anything he had ever done, because he knew that the storyteller couldn't tell the story because he hadn't fixed enough of what he had done. So he was praying and begging and praying and begging, and the storyteller came back. The storyteller had to make that choice, to go or not. And he got the inspiration to go back, even if it was another hour to go back, because of his desire to share. So again, it goes back to when we make the right choices for the sake of helping other people or sharing or living into a higher level of our perfect self, then the universe will conspire to put all the things together to bring us amazing blessings. So today is the day we're deciding to choose to see the good in me, the good I see in the mirror. When you look in the mirror, see the light that's there. Doesn't mean you don't see the mistakes you made or the things you need to repair, but see the light so you'll understand that with the light you can fix anything. But then also choose to see the light in all those other people. Not only your family and friends and the people you love and care about, but choose to see the light in the people that are not so nice to you, that aren't behaving well, because they also have the light there. They just don't realize it's there. So as we will choose to awaken more light in us and choose to see the light in them, then all of us will start to choose to see the light in everyone else. And on top of it, if we're seeing the light in ourselves and in other people, then we will also see the light everywhere in the world. We will see through the chaos, and we will be able to not only see heaven on earth, but because we will now do the actions of sharing to make those images manifest, to make those thoughts of divine inspiration manifest through an act of sharing, we will manifest heaven on earth, peace to every human being on earth, and we'll all be living in nirvana. God bless. Thank you. So now is our time, especially for the new people. The rest of you are used to this. This is the time. The center is a charity, and we're supported by your donations. So how fast we can spread the Zohar and the Kabbalah is determined by how many resources we have. So that's why we always take these few moments to bless our offering. If you're watching us on Facebook or on Kabbalah U, you're welcome to stay with us. We'll do the blessing. Those of you on Facebook, you can go to the Facebook page that you're watching now for the link to be able to make your donation. But again, I just want to share with you gratitude and appreciation on the behalf of the center, because it's you. The center, like the world. The world is not a place separate from people. The world is 7.5 billion individuals, and the combination of what we do collectively determines what the world looks like. So the same with the center. The center is a place we can all come to participate, to learn from, and also to share, so that we can reach out to thousands and millions and billions of people to bring this wisdom and these tools to them. So the faster we can spread this, the faster we can awaken people. And if you are new, please take a few minutes to at least go outside and look at the bookstore, one of these. At least get one of these pocket Zohars for your pocket, your purse, your briefcase, your car, whatever, your children's backpacks. It's protection, as we'll explain here in a few minutes when we do our meditation. But it's just protection. It just radiates the light of God. It's that kind of instrument. So whatever you're able to donate and share with us is helping us to speed the spread of this, to bring more miracles and more wonders around the world. And those who've been with us, you've heard all kinds of stories. People whose house burned down, the only thing that remains besides them is the Zohar, usually the set of Zohar that's sitting in their house. I told you about China last week. I told you about North and South Korea. We had a new thing in Paraguay. In Paraguay, they went and handed out Zohars, and they start to see changes in the governments, in the elections, in the crime rates. I mean, what can the light of God not change? The light of God, what can it not fix? Anger, hatred, war, violence, disease can change it all. But we are the ones who decide how much light exists in the world. Because the Creator already set out 100%. Our job is to make it manifest. So that's why we'll take these few minutes. So whatever you can share with us, we certainly appreciate it. But let's take our moment to hold in our hands, because we know our money comes from the talents and abilities the Creator gave us. And so the Creator's nature is to share, and we're sharing this now with the consciousness, one of gratitude and appreciation for what we've been given that allows us to have these resources. And two, we want to inject our love, our light, and our blessing into this gift, that it will go out through the center to touch all 7.5 billion people, to the people currently in the center who will reach out to others, who will reach out to others, and by those 6 degrees of separation, literally touch all 7.5 billion people on the planet. To bring all the light that the Creator has put here into revelation in the eyes, the hearts, and the souls of every person on earth. We send it out with our best wishes, with our love, envisioning the world at peace. And we open our eyes and we say, Amen. Yes, so what you see in front of you, those of you who are brand new, it's called one of the 72 names of God. If you look to your left, you have the chart, all 72. It's one framework. It doesn't mean there are 72 gods, but it means in this frame there are 72 attributes to the Creator. Now, what you see in front of you, if you're familiar, are Aramaic letters or Hebrew letters. But they are not a construct of humanity. They came out of the immaterial, what we call the endless world, into this world as a portal or a conduit or a channel of the endless light. It is literally the DNA of our soul. We have physical DNA, we also have spiritual DNA. The spiritual DNA is the light of the Creator that is put inside our soul. So each one of those shapes, each one of those entities shines a different aspect, a different frequency of the light of the Creator. So then the various combinations create different types of energy. So as you see in this case, right, awaken your sixth sense, see beyond, see, like we've said, see the light that's in you, see the truth of the light that's in you, in everyone around you, and the perfection of the world as it exists, right? We just have to put all the pieces together by making those right choices and doing those right actions. So from right to left, because that's the way the energy flows, Hey, Yud, Yud. Hey, Yud, Yud. That's the name of the letters, so you'll know. But the shape is what channels the light. So look at it, let it settle in your mind's eye, those shapes of the Hey, Yud, Yud. And then we're going to use it in a meditation to awaken the light inside of us to that next level. Take a good look. Okay, if you close your eyes, sitting comfortably in the chair, hands comfortably on your lap, feet flat on the floor, taking a few deep breaths to relax into the light. Breathe in through the nose, hold the breath for a moment, and exhale through the mouth. Just allowing yourself to relax, to reach into your soul, to reach around you, to the light of the Creator that exists everywhere. Allowing yourself to rest more and more in that light. Mind's eye, seeing more and more of that perfection that exists in you. Holding in your mind and your heart the truth that as God is perfect, the Creator is perfect, created each and every one of us in the image of that perfection. Now let's envision the energy forces of Hey, Yud, Yud. Seeing them shining with the endless light. And allowing them to reach into our heart and our soul. Hey, Yud, Yud. Awakening. Higher awareness, a greater awareness of the light and the perfection that exists inside of us. See that perfection. See your perfect image and perfect likeness. Let it be strong in your mind, in your consciousness. That perfection exists. And now choose to live into that perfection. More and more each moment, more and more with each choice you make. as we're getting this clearer picture of our perfection, in your mind's eye, look around to all the people in your life, your loved ones, your friends, and your family, and begin seeing more light in them than you've seen up to this moment. As you're sending them this light, awakening this higher level, then send through them this energy of Hey Yud Yud to all the people that you have any kind of difficulty with. That as you're shining light on them, you can also see through whatever external behavior they have shown you. Use the light to pierce that darkness and reach into their soul. The power of the Hey Yud Yud to awaken the light of the Creator in them. That as of right now, they're feeling that light inside them. They're beginning to have a greater sense of the perfection in them that allows them to transform their actions from self-centered to sharing, from resentment to love and care. And from them, let it go out to all the world. Every human being on earth having this awakening, the awareness that they are perfect. They desire right now to express that perfection with every choice they make moving forward. So together we hold the image of the world at peace, love and harmony. And we commit ourselves to live into that perfection more and more every day, starting right now. Take one more deep breath to anchor this in. And as you exhale, slowly opening